New record highs. The stock market seems unstoppable, but are you ready? Because in 22 days, we have an election. And right now, we're trading here into extreme greed, which means that it might be time to get a really good gut check because this big key chart here, which is the 10-year note, is approaching a really key area. And it was green again today. This is an area where we're either going to pass or fail. And this is really important because the policies of both people who are running for president are likely going to be inflationary. So, whether we get a pass or a fail on this big key chart is really going to matter. What I'm really talking about is whether we have an everything rally or whether this time's different. What I'm really talking about is that as we look here to a couple of key charts, S&P new all-time highs. The Nasdaq, man, it looks strong. We look here to the dollar, also closing up. We look over here to the 10-year note, also closing up. So this really starts to seem like an everything rally because even Bitcoin was joining the party, up by almost 5% today. So what exactly is going on? Is this really one of the early days of a new big bull market, or is this time different? Well, I'm sure the bears are going to say it's different. Over in China, they're looking for hope. This is not the same thing as in America. Right now, things are rosy in America. Why? Well, stocks seem pretty happy. And NVIDIA is almost becoming the biggest company in the world. It's currently valued at 3.38, and Apple's here at a cool 3.51. Oh my God, one more day like today, and NVIDIA is going to be there. Stocks rise as earnings set to kick in into high gear. This is really important because of the things we talked about on the weekend. But as a quick recap, we have Walgreens, United Health, Citigroup, Bank of America, Johnson & Johnson, Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab. Pre-market tomorrow and a whole bunch of stocks after the close, which means that we're really getting into the thick of earnings. Remember, there's 5 things we're looking for into this earnings season. Number 1, the bar's been lowered for corporate America's third quarter profit view. What does that mean? It means the bar has been lowered. It's easier for these companies to beat. Maybe that's part of the reason why people are bidding up stocks today. They're like, man, these stocks are going to crush it. Time to buy right now. Yes, because CEOs are bullish, but Wall Street's not. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, because the bar has been lowered. This is in addition to number 1. So in July, people were more bearish than they are now, even though stocks are at all-time highs. So it's going to be easier to beat. Second thing, S&P 493 are set to post profit growth, which means that we're actually seeing that widening out. This is exactly what the bulls want to see for the legs of this rally to stay strong and for us to keep pushing higher. Next thing here is that individual stock moves are now actually larger. They're looking for big moves, maybe big booms. And the same thing here regarding margins. Number 4, margins are improving. So the bar's been lower. Companies are making more money than they thought they would. And that appears to be a good thing. Over in Europe, it's not so great either. Right now, they're seeing largely downgrades. So in China, there's hope, right? That keyword there. Hope is not an investment strategy. We say that frequently. Over in Europe, they're getting downgrades. So over in big, beautiful America, things look like they're pretty good. So on the weekend, we talked about China putting investors' patience to the test. Well, over in America, we're not really seeing that. Here's a couple of other really quick headlines. Tesla was actually remotely operating some of their robots during the CyberCab event. Interesting, right? They were trying to make it appear like it was more bullish than it was. And then Google backs build out of a small nuclear reactor in Caron steel. And a stock that was really moving here is Oklo. I managed to actually grab some just before this news came out. So I'm really happy with that. We'll talk more about that in the pre-market stream tomorrow. But why are stocks really going higher? Well, one of the reasons, like I just said, is that I think the earnings outlook is improving. But just before we go further, I'm going to ask you for a huge favor. If you could please consider smashing that thumbs up or subscribing to the channel, I would really, really appreciate that. So there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines. And let's think about this. They're making 5% per year. It's not bad. But if you look here to a 12-month chart for the NASDAQ, we're up by 20% this year. Your 5% doesn't look very good compared to 20. We'll look here to the S&P 500, 23%. So, I would much rather have 23 than 5. And a lot of people thought that the recession was delayed, but now it doesn't really look like we're going to get one. So I think a lot of this money is starting to get scared, starting to get FOMO. And with growth fairly high, that means earnings are probably going to be pretty good. So all this money sitting on the sidelines is looking for a home. Remember, I just told you, people are now starting to feel FOMO. Why? Extreme greed. So that $6.4 trillion, yep, I'm guessing they're feeling a little bit of FOMO. All right, let's round it out. Because now all that really matters is whether earnings start to beat or if they don't. Because going into here, like we just talked about, there's some expectations. And those expectations are that margins are improving, America's still the best game in town, individual stocks are seeing large bets, and we're going to see a widening out. Banks did really good to kick things off, but we need to see more than that. So as we look to tomorrow and looking through to Wednesday, there's going to be a little bit of a taste of everything. Some retailers, some healthcare, some more banks, some airlines, and some brokers. All right. So very last things here. The NASDAQ definitely does look extended. We can note the upper uptrend here, and volume's not really all that strong. But what it feels like to me, again, one tap, two tap, three taps, forming those marginal higher highs. This really does feel like what happened here to the S&P. This was a flat line, but they held it under once, under twice. It popped over and back tested. And now we're seeing other things like XLF actually pass here. The higher they go, it means eventually when they form a higher low, maybe it's going to be here on support, which means we see more and more evidence that the bull market might actually have more legs. All right, with that said, maybe you want to subscribe to the channel and come hang out with me at 9:15 a.m. tomorrow. Thanks so much and wish you the best of luck out there tomorrow.